The red ink from my grading pen had started to blur together after 3 hours of marking the same historical misconceptions over and over again. The Civil War was fought over states' rights, I muttered sarcastically to my empty living room, scribbling another correction in the margin. Sure, kids, states' rights to own people. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Preston Reed, and at 30 years old, I've been teaching high school history for 8 years. Long enough to know that teenagers will believe anything that sounds simpler than the truth, and apparently, so will wives. The apartment felt eerily quiet without Clarissa's usual evening chatter about her co-workers at the pharmacy or her latest social media drama. She'd been gone since Friday morning, supposedly attending her grandmother's memorial service 3 hours north, the same grandmother who, according to Clarissa, had been failing fast for the past 2 months. I glanced at my phone. Saturday, 9:47 p.m. She'd texted me that morning, "I'm at my grandma's memorial, please don't call. Family needs privacy to grieve. Love you." Something about that text had felt off all day. Maybe it was the formal punctuation. Clarissa usually texted like she was having a seizure, all lowercase with random emojis. Or maybe it was the fact that she'd never mentioned planning to attend any memorial service until the day she left. I pushed the thought away and opened my laptop, deciding I needed background noise while I finished grading. The Riverside Music Festival was streaming live tonight, and I figured some mindless crowd footage might help me focus. The festival was about 4 hours south of us, a massive 3-day event that drew college kids and 20-somethings from across the state. The stream opened to a sweeping view of the main stage, where some indie band I'd never heard of was playing to a crowd of at least 10,000 people. The camera panned across the audience, occasionally zooming in on groups of particularly enthusiastic fans dancing and singing along. I was halfway through marking another essay when the camera focused on the front row near the stage. My pen stopped moving. There, sitting on someone's shoulders with her arms raised in the air, was my wife. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen, hoping I was wrong. But there was no mistaking that blonde hair, those distinctive silver earrings I'd bought her for Christmas, or the expensive-looking crop top she definitely hadn't owned last week. The camera lingered for a few more seconds, and I got a clear view of the person carrying her. Silas Trent, her ex-boyfriend from college, the musician who'd never held a real job and still lived with 3 roommates at 31. My hands were shaking as I frantically searched for the record button. The live stream had moved on to a different section of the crowd, but I managed to rewind and capture a 30-second clip showing Clarissa and Silas clearly visible, her laughing and him grinning up at her like they were the happiest couple in the world. I sat back in my chair, staring at the frozen frame on my screen. The grandmother's memorial, the family privacy, the formal text message, all lies. I thought back over the past few weeks, details I'd ignored suddenly snapping into focus. The new clothes she claimed were work-appropriate, but kept in her car trunk. The late shifts at the pharmacy that seemed to happen whenever I had evening faculty meetings. The way she'd started putting her phone face down during dinner. The faint smell of marijuana in her hair when she came home from grocery shopping. And now this. My wife of 4 years, supposedly mourning with her family, was instead getting high and hooking up with her loser ex-boyfriend at a music festival. I took a screenshot of the clearest frame showing both their faces, then saved the video clip to my desktop. My initial shock was rapidly transforming into something colder and more focused. Clarissa had always been terrified of disappointing her parents. Mr. and Mrs. Avery were strict, old-fashioned people who'd raised their daughter with rigid expectations about marriage, family, and moral behavior. They'd never liked Silas during Clarissa's college years, calling him unstable and a bad influence. When she'd started dating me instead, they'd been relieved to see her with someone who had a steady job and no criminal record. If they knew what she was really doing this weekend, while supposedly honoring a deceased family member, they would be absolutely disgusted. I opened my email and attached both the video clip and the screenshot. Then I composed a simple message. Mr. and Mrs. Avery, I thought you should see what Clarissa is actually doing this weekend. This was taken tonight at the Riverside Music Festival. The man carrying her is Silas Trent, her ex-boyfriend. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Preston. I sent the email, then sat back and waited. It was almost 10 p.m., but I knew the Averys went to bed late on weekends. They'd probably see this within the hour. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler, my colleague and closest friend. Want to grab drinks tomorrow? Sarah's visiting her sister, so I'm free. Instead of responding, I called him. Preston? What's up, man? You sound weird. Tyler, I need your help with something. Can you come over right now? Sure. Everything okay? Just get here. I'll explain when you arrive. While I waited for Tyler, I walked through our apartment, really looking at it for the first time in months. Clarissa's makeup scattered across the bathroom counter, her romance novels stacked on the nightstand, her coffee mug in the sink from yesterday morning, still stained with lipstick. Evidence of a life we'd built together, and evidence of how easily she'd thrown it away. Tyler knocked 20 minutes later, still in his weekend clothes, jeans and a faded band t-shirt that made him look younger than his 32 years. Okay, you're starting to freak me out, he said as I let him in. What's going on? I showed him the video. Holy shit, Tyler breathed, watching Clarissa laugh and dance on Silas's shoulders. Dude, I'm so sorry. What are you going to do? I already sent this to her parents, I said. But that's just the beginning. Tyler raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? I pulled up our apartment lease on my laptop. Look at this. The lease is month to month, and both our names are on it. But there's a clause here that says either tenant can remove themselves from the lease with 30 days' notice, as long as the remaining tenant can prove they can cover the full rent. Can she cover the full rent? On a pharmacy tech's salary? Not a chance. She makes maybe $1,500 a month. Rent here is $1,200. Tyler was starting to grin. You're going to leave her with an apartment she can't afford. I'm going to leave her with a lot of things she can't afford, I corrected. Our joint checking account has my name first, which means I can withdraw everything and close it. Our car insurance is through my policy. Her phone is on my family plan. Jesus, Preston, you've thought this through fast. I've had months to think about it, apparently. I just didn't realize I was thinking about it. My phone chimed with an email notification. Mrs. Avery had responded. Preston, we are absolutely horrified. We had no idea Clarissa was capable of this kind of deception. We are driving to your apartment right now, and will be there by midnight. We need to discuss this situation immediately. Thank you for telling us the truth. I showed Tyler the message. They're coming here tonight. What are you going to tell them? The truth, that their daughter has been lying to all of us, and that I'm done being lied to. Tyler helped me start packing Clarissa's belongings into garbage bags. We worked mostly in silence, both of us still processing what we'd discovered. Every item felt like evidence of her deception. The concert t-shirts she'd claimed were gifts from co-workers, the expensive perfume she said was on sale, the birth control pills she'd told me were for regulating her cycle, even though we'd been trying to start a family. By 11:30, we had 6 large bags packed and lined up by the front door. You know she's going to lose her mind when she gets back tomorrow, Tyler said. Good, I replied. She should have thought about that before she decided to lie about a late grandmother. At exactly midnight, I heard car doors slamming in the parking lot. Through the window, I could see Mr. and Mrs. Avery walking toward our building, their faces grim in the security lighting. This was about to get very interesting. Mrs. Avery's face was stone when I opened the door. She was a small woman in her late 50s, always impeccably dressed even at midnight, with steel gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Mr. Avery stood behind her, tall and stern, wearing the same disapproving expression he'd worn when he first met Silas 5 years ago. "Preston," Mrs. Avery said curtly, "we need to talk." I gestured them inside, where Tyler was sitting on the couch, trying to look invisible. "This is my friend Tyler. He's been helping me tonight." "Helping you with what?" Mr. Avery asked, then noticed the garbage bags by the door. His expression darkened further. "I see." Mrs. Avery pulled out her phone and showed me the video I'd sent them, her hands trembling slightly. "How long has this been going on?" "I honestly don't know," I said. "Tonight was the first time I had actual proof. But looking back, there have been signs for weeks, maybe months." "What kind of signs?" Mr. Avery's voice was sharp. I sat down across from them, Tyler quietly moving to the kitchen to give us space. "New clothes she kept hidden, late nights at work that didn't match her actual schedule, money missing from our joint account. She's been lying about a lot more than just this weekend." Mrs. Avery closed her eyes. "We raised her better than this." "I know you did. That's why I thought you should know the truth." "Where is she supposed to be right now?" Mr. Avery asked. "At your mother's memorial service," I said. According to her text, the family needed privacy to grieve. Mrs. Avery's face went white. "My mother has been gone for 12 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Tyler dropped something in the kitchen, the sound making all of us jump. "She told you it was my mother's memorial?" Mrs. Avery's voice was barely a whisper. "She's been talking about your mother's failing health for 2 months, I said. Said she was in hospice, that the family was taking turns visiting. She even showed me fake text messages from you about funeral arrangements." Mr. Avery stood up abruptly, his face flushed with anger. "She used my late mother-in-law to cover up an affair." "It gets worse," I said, pulling up our bank statements on my laptop. "Look at these withdrawals. $200 last Friday, $300 the week before. All cash, all on days she claimed to be visiting your mother." Mrs. Avery studied the screen, her professional accountant's eye catching details I'd missed. "These ATM locations are all near the university, where Silas lives. She's been funding their relationship with our money," I realized aloud. "The festival tickets, the hotel, probably drugs too." Tyler returned from the kitchen with coffee for everyone, his timing perfect as always. Mrs. Avery accepted her cup gratefully, her hands still shaking. "What are your plans, Preston?" she asked. "Obviously, you can't continue this marriage. I'm removing myself from the lease tomorrow. She can't afford this place alone, so she'll have to move. I've already transferred our joint savings to my personal account, and I'll be canceling her phone service in the morning." Mr. Avery nodded approvingly. "What about her job?" "What about it?" "Does her supervisor know about her recreational activities?" I caught his meaning. "I don't know, but her pharmacy has a strict drug policy. If they knew she was using illegal substances, especially while handling controlled medications, they'd fire her immediately," Mrs. Avery finished. "She'd lose her license." We sat in silence, the weight of Clarissa's choices settling over all of us. She hadn't just betrayed me, she'd betrayed her parents, her profession, and everything she claimed to value. "She'll come home tomorrow, expecting everything to be normal," Tyler said quietly. "Then she's going to be very disappointed," Mr. Avery replied. Mrs. Avery set down her coffee cup with a sharp clink. "We'll be here when she arrives. She needs to face what she's done." "Are you sure? This is going to get ugly." "Preston, our daughter used my late mother as an excuse to cheat on her husband. She's been stealing money and lying to everyone who loves her. Ugly doesn't begin to cover what this is." I looked at this woman who'd always been kind to me, who'd welcomed me into their family, who'd trusted me to take care of her daughter. The pain in her eyes was obvious, but so was her determination. "There's something else," I said, pulling up Clarissa's social media profiles. "Look at her Instagram from this weekend." The photos were damning. Clarissa in expensive rave wear, drinks in hand, clearly high and laughing with Silas and his friends. The timestamps showed they'd been posted throughout the weekend, even during the hours she'd claimed to be at a memorial service. "She's not even trying to hide it," Tyler observed. "She posted this stuff publicly." "Because she thought I'd never see it," I said. "She probably planned to delete everything before she came home." Mrs. Avery scrolled through the photos, her expression growing colder with each image. "Look at this caption. Living my best life with my favorite people. Posted yesterday at 2 p.m., the exact time she told us the funeral service was starting." Mr. Avery leaned over his wife's shoulder to read. "And this one. Sometimes you have to lie to live your truth. Posted this morning." "She's proud of it," I said. "She thinks she's being clever." "She's about to learn how wrong she is," Mrs. Avery said, taking screenshots of every photo. "We'll be staying at the hotel down the street tonight. What time does she usually come home on Sundays?" "Around 6 p.m. She always stops for groceries first. Keeps up the domestic wife act." "Perfect. We'll be here at 5:30. After her parents left, Tyler and I finished packing the rest of Clarissa's belongings. Her jewelry, her books, her collection of scented candles that made the apartment smell like a Bath and Body Works store. Every item felt like evidence of a person I'd never really known. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, folding her favorite sweater into a bag. "What?" I actually believed her. When she started talking about her grandmother being sick, I felt sorry for her. I offered to come with her to the hospital visits. I even bought flowers for her to take. Tyler shook his head. "She's been planning this for months, man. The fake family emergency, the secret relationship, the financial stuff. This isn't some spontaneous mistake." He was right. This was calculated, deliberate deception. Clarissa hadn't just cheated on me. She'd constructed an elaborate lie that involved her deceased grandmother, fake family crises, and stolen money. She'd looked me in the eye every day for months and lied without hesitation. By 3 a.m., we'd removed every trace of her from the apartment except for the furniture we'd bought together. I'd also printed out copies of our bank statements, her social media posts, and the festival video. Everything was organized in a folder labeled Evidence that I planned to give to her parents. "What happens next?" Tyler asked as we surveyed our work. "Next, she comes home expecting to continue her double life and instead finds out that everyone knows the truth." "And then?" I looked around the apartment that would soon be mine alone, thinking about the woman who'd shared it with me for 4 years, the woman I'd planned to start a family with, the woman who'd used her late grandmother as an excuse to cheat. "Then she learns that actions have consequences," I said, "and some lessons you only have to teach once." Sunday evening arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made me think of new beginnings. Today, it felt more like an ending. I'd spent the day at Tyler's place, letting him distract me with football games and terrible takeout food. But by 5 o'clock, my stomach was churning with anticipation. Everything was ready. Clarissa's belongings were packed and waiting by the door. Her parents were stationed at the hotel, ready to drive over at my signal. I'd transferred our joint savings to my personal account and submitted the paperwork to remove myself from our lease. All that remained was for the star of the show to make her entrance. Tyler had offered to stay for moral support, but I'd declined. This was something I needed to face alone, at least initially. He'd be on standby in case things got out of hand. At 5:45, I heard her key in the lock. "Preston, I'm home!" Clarissa's voice rang out cheerfully as she entered, grocery bags rustling in her hands. "Sorry I'm so late. The drive back was terrible and I had to stop for—" She stopped mid-sentence when she saw the garbage bags lined up by the door. "What's all this?" she asked, setting down the groceries. She looked exactly like someone who'd spent the weekend at a music festival. Tired, slightly dehydrated, with that particular glow that comes from 3 days of partying. Her hair was messier than usual, and I could see the faint remains of a festival wristband on her left wrist. "Those are your belongings," I said calmly. "You'll need to find somewhere else to live." Clarissa laughed, but it sounded forced. "Very funny, Preston. What's really going on? Did you redecorate while I was gone? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot from the live stream. Her face went completely white. I can explain, she started. I'm sure you can. You've gotten very good at explanations lately, like explaining how your grandmother's memorial service happened to coincide with the Riverside Music Festival. She sank into the chair across from me, her hands shaking. How did you find out? Pure luck. I was grading papers and had the festival live stream on for background noise. Imagine my surprise when my grieving wife appeared on the jumbo screen, sitting on her ex-boyfriend's shoulders. Preston, please, let me explain what really happened. What really happened is that you've been lying to me for months. The fake family emergencies, the stolen money, the secret relationship with Silas, and the best part, using your late grandmother as cover for your affair. Clarissa's eyes filled with tears. My grandmother? Your mother's been gone for 12 years, Clarissa. Your parents told me last night. You talked to my parents? The color drained from her face completely. I sent them the video. They were here until 3 a.m., trying to understand how their daughter could use her deceased grandmother as an excuse to cheat on her husband. She buried her face in her hands. Oh God, what have I done? You've destroyed your marriage, betrayed your parents, and stolen money to fund an affair with a loser who still lives with roommates? That's what you've done. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Avery. We're in the parking lot. Is it time? I replied. Come up now. Your parents are here, I told Clarissa. They want to talk to you. No, she whispered. Please, Preston, don't let them come up here. I can fix this. I can make this right. How? By lying some more? By stealing more money? By inventing another late relative? The knock on the door was sharp and authoritative. Mr. Avery's knock. Clarissa looked at me desperately. Please, I'll do anything. I'll never see Silas again. I'll quit my job and find a new one. I'll go to counseling. Just please don't let them in. It's too late for that, I said, walking to the door. You should have thought about consequences before you decided to lie about a memorial service. I opened the door to reveal her parents, both dressed formally as if attending a business meeting. Mrs. Avery's face was set in stone, while Mr. Avery looked like he was restraining himself from violence. Hello, Clarissa, Mrs. Avery said coldly. Mom, Dad, I can explain everything. Explain what? Mr. Avery's voice cut through her words like a blade. Explain how you used your late grandmother as an excuse to cheat. Explain how you've been stealing money from your husband. Explain how you've been lying to everyone who loves you. Clarissa started crying in earnest now, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. I never meant for it to go this far. It started as just one weekend, just to see Silas again, and then you decided to fund an ongoing affair with stolen money and fake family emergencies, Mrs. Avery finished. Do you have any idea how disgusting this is? Mom, please. Don't call me Mom. A daughter of mine would never do something this shameful. The words hit Clarissa like a physical blow. She looked between her parents and me, seeming to realize for the first time that this wasn't a problem she could cry or lie her way out of. What happens now? She asked quietly. Mr. Avery pulled out a folder and set it on the coffee table. Preston has been generous enough to document your behavior. Bank statements showing the money you stole, social media posts proving you were at the festival, the video evidence of you with Silas. We're keeping copies of everything, Mrs. Avery added, in case you decide to try to blame Preston for this situation. Clarissa opened the folder with trembling hands, her face growing paler as she flipped through the evidence. You screenshotted my Instagram? Every post from this weekend, I confirmed, including the one where you wrote, "Sometimes you have to lie to live your truth." That one's my personal favorite. She closed the folder and looked up at me. So what now? You're just going to throw me out? You threw yourself out the moment you decided to betray our marriage. I'm just making it official. Where am I supposed to go? That's not our problem anymore, Mr. Avery said. You're 28 years old. You made adult choices, now you can face adult consequences. What about Silas? Mrs. Avery asked. Is he going to take care of you now? Clarissa's silence was answer enough. We all knew Silas wasn't the type to offer stability or support when the fun was over. He doesn't know I'm getting divorced, she admitted quietly. Ah, I said. So you were planning to keep both relationships going indefinitely. How modern of you. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted the security of being married to me and the excitement of sleeping with him. You thought you could have both as long as you kept lying. She stood up abruptly, anger replacing the tears. Fine, you want me gone? I'm gone. But don't act like you're some perfect husband. You're boring, Preston. You're predictable and boring, and you never want to do anything fun. You're right, I said calmly. I am boring. I'm so boring that I've never cheated on you, stolen money from you, or used a late relative as an excuse to betray you. How terribly dull of me. Mrs. Avery stood up as well. Get your things and go, Clarissa, and don't bother calling us. We have no daughter. The finality in her voice seemed to break something in Clarissa. She grabbed 2 of the garbage bags and dragged them toward the door, tears streaming down her face. This isn't over, she said, looking back at me. I'll find a way to make this right. Yes, it is over, I replied. And the only thing you need to make right is your own life. Good luck with that. She left without another word, her parents following her to make sure she actually departed. I watched from the window as she loaded her belongings into her car, her movements jerky and desperate. Mr. Avery came back up alone. She's gone, he said. Drove off toward the university, probably going to Silas. Good. That's his problem now. Preston, I want you to know that we don't blame you for any of this. You've been a good husband to her, better than she deserved. Thank you, sir. That means a lot. He shook my hand firmly. If you need anything, references for a new apartment, someone to vouch for your character, call us. We may have lost a daughter today, but we haven't lost respect for you. After he left, I sat alone in the apartment that was now entirely mine. It felt bigger somehow, cleaner, like a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying had been lifted from my shoulders. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. How did it go? It's over, I typed back. She's gone. How do you feel? I looked around the apartment, thinking about the question. How did I feel? Not sad exactly, not angry anymore either. I felt free. 3 days later, I was grading papers in the faculty lounge when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. It was local. Preston Reed, I answered. Mr. Reed, this is Detective Martinez with the city police. I need to ask you a few questions about your wife, Clarissa Reed. My stomach dropped. What kind of questions? She filed a report claiming you stole money from her and illegally evicted her from your shared apartment. Can you come down to the station this afternoon? Of course. Should I bring a lawyer? That's up to you, but this is just a preliminary interview. We need to hear your side of the story. I hung up and immediately called Tyler, who agreed to meet me at the police station. Then I gathered all the documentation I'd prepared, bank statements, lease agreements, and screenshots of Clarissa's social media posts. Detective Martinez was a tired-looking woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She listened patiently as I explained the situation, occasionally asking clarifying questions. So, you discovered her affair through a live stream? She asked. Pure accident. I have the video saved if you need to see it. And you removed yourself from the lease legally? Yes, ma'am. Here's the paperwork. The landlord confirmed that Clarissa couldn't qualify for the lease on her income alone, so she had to vacate. Detective Martinez reviewed my documents for several minutes. Mr. Reed, your wife claims you stole $5,000 from her personal account. We only had joint accounts, I said, showing her the bank statements. Everything in those accounts was earned by both of us. When I discovered the affair, I transferred the money to prevent her from draining the accounts to fund her relationship with her ex-boyfriend. She also claims you destroyed her personal property. I packed her belongings carefully and gave them to her when she left. Her parents witnessed the entire exchange. The detective made notes as I spoke. What's your current relationship status? We're separated. I'll be filing for divorce next week. Any contact since Sunday? She sent about 30 text messages begging me to take her back. I haven't responded to any of them. Detective Martinez closed her notepad. Mr. Reed, based on what you've shown me, I don't see any evidence of theft or illegal eviction. Your wife appears to be upset about the consequences of her own actions. So no charges will be filed? Not based on this complaint. However, I'd recommend you document everything going forward. Sometimes these situations can escalate. As if on cue, my phone started buzzing with another call from Clarissa. I declined it and showed the screen to the detective. That's the 4th call today, I said. Don't answer. If she shows up at your workplace or home, call us immediately. Tyler was waiting for me in the parking lot, looking worried. How did it go? No charges. Apparently filing false police reports is frowned upon. What's she trying to accomplish? Probably hoping to pressure me into taking her back, or maybe she's just panicking because reality is setting in. We drove to a nearby diner to grab coffee and decompress. I was emotionally exhausted from reliving the whole situation for the detective, but also relieved that Clarissa's desperate gambit had failed. Have you heard anything about how she's doing? Tyler asked. Her friend Megan called me yesterday. Apparently Clarissa is staying on Silas's couch, but it's not going well. He's not thrilled about suddenly having a homeless ex-girlfriend as a roommate. Shocking, Tyler said dryly. A guy who lives with 3 roommates and hasn't held a steady job in 5 years isn't ready for a serious relationship. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Silas. We need to talk about Clarissa. I showed Tyler the message. Speak of the devil. Are you going to respond? Absolutely. This should be interesting. I typed back. What about her? The response came immediately. She's been staying here since Sunday and it's not working out. She says you kicked her out illegally and stole her money. She lied to you, just like she lied to me. Check the police report she filed. They found no evidence of any illegal activity on my part. Look, man, I don't want to get in the middle of your marriage problems, but she needs to find somewhere else to stay. I stared at the message, hardly believing what I was reading. Tyler, look at this. He's trying to give her back. Tyler read over my shoulder and started laughing. Oh my God. He doesn't want her now that she's actually available. I typed, she's not my problem anymore. You wanted to sleep with a married woman, now you get to deal with the consequences. I never asked her to leave her husband. Then you should have thought of that before you helped her spend our money on festival tickets and hotel rooms. There was a long pause before his next message. How did you know about the money? I know about everything, Silas. The fake family emergencies, the late grandmother story, the stolen cash. She documented most of it on social media. Shit. Yeah, shit. Good luck with your new roommate. I blocked his number and turned off my phone. Tyler was grinning at me across the table. You know what this means, right? He said. That Silas is an idiot? That Clarissa is about to find out what happens when you burn all your bridges at once. Her parents disowned her, you divorced her, and now her boyfriend doesn't want her either. He was right. Clarissa had spent months constructing an elaborate web of lies, thinking she could maintain her marriage for security while pursuing her ex-boyfriend for excitement. Instead, she'd lost both relationships and found herself homeless with no family support. I almost feel sorry for her, I said. Almost? I thought about the fake memorial service, the stolen money, the months of calculated deception. Almost, but not quite. My phone rang again, a different unknown number this time. I was tempted to ignore it, but curiosity got the better of me. Preston, this is Megan, Clarissa's friend. Hi Megan, what can I do for you? I wanted to apologize for calling you yesterday. I was just trying to help Clarissa, but after talking to her more, I realized there's a lot I didn't know about the situation. Such as the lying about her grandmother, for one thing. That's really messed up, Preston. I had no idea she was capable of something like that. Neither did I, until Sunday. She's been staying with different friends since Silas kicked her out yesterday. She asked if she could crash at my place, but honestly, I don't trust her anymore. If she could lie to you and her parents so easily, what's to stop her from lying to me? Probably nothing, I agreed. She keeps saying you'll take her back if she just apologizes enough. I told her she's delusional. You're right. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Well, I wanted you to know that not all of her friends are buying her victim act. What she did was wrong, and you deserve better. After Megan hung up, I sat in the diner feeling oddly peaceful. The people who mattered, Tyler, Clarissa's parents, even some of her friends, could see the situation clearly. Clarissa's attempts to paint herself as the wronged party weren't working. You know what the best part is? I told Tyler. What? I don't have to do anything else. She's destroying herself with her own choices. All I have to do is sit back and watch. And that's exactly what I plan to do. 2 weeks later, I was settling into my new routine as a single man when Tyler burst into my classroom after school, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Dude, you're not going to believe this, he said, pulling out his phone. Clarissa just got fired from the pharmacy. What? How do you know? My sister Sarah works at the hospital next door. Apparently, there was a whole scene this morning. Security had to escort Clarissa out. I set down the papers I was grading. What happened? Tyler scrolled through his messages. According to Sarah, someone sent Clarissa's boss those photos from the music festival, the ones where she's obviously high and drinking. The pharmacy has a zero-tolerance policy for employees who use illegal drugs. Someone sent the photos? Who? Sarah doesn't know, but whoever it was also included screenshots of Clarissa's social media posts about lying and living her truth. The boss was apparently furious that an employee handling controlled substances was bragging online about drug use and deception. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and concern. On one hand, Clarissa's actions had finally caught up with her professionally. On the other hand, losing her job would make her situation even more desperate. There's more, Tyler continued. Sarah says Clarissa caused a scene when they fired her, started screaming about how everyone was conspiring against her, how her ex-husband was ruining her life. They had to call security. Yikes. It gets better. Guess who was in the hospital lobby when security dragged her out? I have no idea. Her parents. They were there visiting Mrs. Avery's sister, and they witnessed the whole meltdown. I winced. As angry as I was at Clarissa, I couldn't imagine how humiliating that must have been for everyone involved. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Avery. Preston, I thought you should know that Clarissa lost her job today. We happened to witness her being escorted out by security. She saw us and tried to approach, but we left immediately. I wanted you to be aware, in case she tries to blame you for this as well. I showed Tyler the message. Her parents are worried she's going to escalate. Are you worried? A little. Desperate people do stupid things. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone started ringing. Clarissa's number. Don't answer it, Tyler advised. I'm not planning to. I let it go to voicemail, but she immediately called back. Then again, and again. Jesus, she's persistent, Tyler muttered as my phone continued ringing. Finally, the call stopped. A few minutes later, I received a voicemail notification. Against my better judgment, I played it on speaker. Preston, please, you have to call me back. Clarissa's voice was shaky and desperate. I know you're angry, But I lost my job today and I have nowhere to go. Silas won't talk to me, my parents won't help me, and all my friends think I'm a liar. I'm sleeping in my car, Preston. Please just give me another chance. I'll do anything to make this right. I love you. I know I screwed up. But I love you and I need you. Please call me back. The message ended, leaving Tyler and me sitting in uncomfortable silence. Wow, Tyler said finally. She's really falling apart. Good, I said, but I didn't feel as satisfied as I'd expected. Hearing her so broken was harder than I'd anticipated. You're not actually considering taking her back, are you? No, but I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would. That's because you're not a sociopath. But remember what she did, Preston. The lying, the stealing, the fake late grandmother. She made these choices. He was right. Clarissa hadn't made one mistake. She'd made dozens of calculated decisions to betray our marriage. The fact that those decisions were now destroying her life was unfortunate, but it wasn't my responsibility to fix. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Oscar, Silas's roommate. Clarissa has been sitting in her car outside our apartment for 3 hours. She's starting to freak out the neighbors. Can you do something about this? I showed Tyler the message. Now she's stalking Silas. This is getting out of hand. Maybe you should call the police. Let me try something else first. I texted Oscar back. Call the police if she won't leave. This isn't my problem anymore. She keeps saying you'll take her back if she just apologizes, right? She's wrong. I'm filing for divorce next week. Good. She's been telling everyone that this is all a misunderstanding and you'll forgive her once you calm down. Silas is getting tired of her showing up here crying. Tell Silas he should have thought about that before he helped her cheat on her husband. Fair point. An hour later, Tyler and I were having dinner at a local restaurant when my phone rang. This time, it was Detective Martinez. Mr. Reed, we've had several calls about your wife today. She was fired from her job this morning and has been causing disturbances around town. What kind of disturbances? She showed up at her ex-boyfriend's apartment and wouldn't leave when asked. She also went to her parents' house and pounded on their door for 20 minutes. They didn't answer, but neighbors called in a noise complaint. Is she in custody? No, but we've issued her a warning about harassment. I wanted to give you a heads up in case she tries to contact you. She's been calling and texting all day. I haven't responded. Good. Keep it that way. Document everything in case we need to file a restraining order. After the detective hung up, I looked across the table at Tyler. She's completely lost it. Can you blame her? In 2 weeks, she's lost her husband, her parents, her boyfriend, her job, and her home. That would break anyone. She lost all those things because of her own choices. I know. I'm not saying you should feel sorry for her. I'm just saying she's probably not thinking clearly right now. Tyler was right to be concerned. Clarissa had always been dramatic, but she'd never been genuinely unstable. The combination of desperation and humiliation could make her unpredictable. My phone buzzed with another voicemail. This time, I didn't play it. Let's get out of here, I said. I want to go home and lock my doors. As we left the restaurant, Tyler put his hand on my shoulder. You know this isn't your fault, right? Whatever she does next, whatever happens to her, none of it is on you. I know. Do you, though? Because you look like you're starting to feel guilty. I thought about his question as we walked to our cars. Did I feel guilty? A little, maybe. Not for divorcing her or exposing her lies, but for how completely her life had collapsed. Even someone who'd betrayed me as thoroughly as Clarissa had didn't deserve to be homeless and unemployed. But Tyler was right. I hadn't caused this situation. Clarissa had chosen to lie, cheat, and steal. She'd chosen to use her late grandmother as cover for an affair. She'd chosen to document her deception on social media. Every consequence she was facing now was the direct result of her own actions. You're right, I told Tyler. I'm not responsible for fixing the mess she made. Exactly. Your only job now is to protect yourself and move on with your life. As I drove home, I thought about the man I'd been 2 weeks ago. Trusting, naive, willing to believe his wife's increasingly elaborate lies. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder and more suspicious. I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not, but it was necessary. Clarissa had taught me that people were capable of breathtaking deception, that love could be faked convincingly, and that trust, once broken, could never be fully repaired. Some lessons you only have to learn once. When I got home, I double-checked all my locks and closed the blinds. Tomorrow I would file for divorce and officially end the marriage that had been over since the moment I saw her on that live stream. Tonight, I would sleep peacefully in my own bed, in my own apartment, surrounded by my own things. No lies, no deception, no fake emergencies. Just the quiet satisfaction of a man who'd learned to value truth above all else.